Welcome to Go Rangers Radio, where the New York Rangers are always the talk of the town. If you bleed red, white, and Rangers blue, hail the king, follow the bread man, and know how to spell Capo Caco, then you've tuned to the right place. And now, here are your handsome hosts, Kevin DeLury and Paul Cuthbert. They're not always going to get it right, but you can be damn sure they'll pretend they are. Now, let's go Rangers Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Go Rangers Radio, right here on the Go Hockey Media Network. It is Wednesday, January 29th. Yours truly, Mr. Paul Cuthbert, and everybody say hello to your friend of mine, Mr. Kevin DeLury, KD. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. I'm trying to find things to do with myself now that, the Rangers haven't played for, the last 8 days. I'm, playing with my kids again. I'm taking my wife out to dinner. I'm becoming, a better person without the Rangers. I have time, I'm this great husband and father now all of a sudden.
Unbelievable.
My wife is hoping that they never come back.
It's like the beginning of the season with the schedule, right?
Exactly. Oh. This is awful. I hate it.
It's very interesting, in terms of all right, what are we going to talk about? They haven't done anything in the last, week and a half here almost. But, here we are. Nothing's changed. 23, 21, and 4, 50 points. 7th in the Metro, 25th in the league. 11 points, KD, out of the wild card, and 13 points behind the Icelanders. We are
and one number you're forgetting is that there's still a 3-headed goalie monster.
We got to talk about that again, don't we?
That's all I'm talking about. It hasn't changed, so I'm still talking about it.
All right. Well, it is the All-Star break. Rangers have their bye week here, and Chris Kreider went to the All-Star game. And KD, did you watch every single second and every minute of this All-Star production this past weekend?
I'm going to tell you, first of all, I forgot about the skills competition Friday. So I didn't watch a second of it. No idea what happened, other than I think Kreider may have come in third place in the fastest skating competition.
Third place, baby.
And I only know that because the Rangers tweeted it out. I wouldn't have known otherwise. And then I had family over on Saturday night, and my brother-in-law said, "Oh, let's put on the All-Star game," and I watched it for 10 minutes, and I couldn't even watch it. It was awful. It's so boring. There's no excitement. I don't know how any of these players can get excited about scoring a 3-on-3 goal with no defense. It was awful.
Not digging it, huh?
No, I'm not. I thought it was awful. There was no excitement. The first game I think was close, maybe, if I remember. Again, I was barely paying attention, and it's not like I was on the edge of my seat, oh my God, is the Metropolitan Division going to pull this one out? I just didn't care. I just had, and you know what? I don't even know what the answer is, to be honest. It's not like I'm some genius over here, what they should be doing. It would definitely work. I don't know what the answer is. I would, even though I still not sure if I would watch it, I would just go back to the old system. I would do East versus West and 5-on-5 and have the best players there. And there you go. I mean, this way it's just not working. It's not hockey. You're not watching hockey. I know that's 3-on-3 is what we have in the overtime now, and they're just doing, this as a gimmick just to try to get people to watch, but it just doesn't work. I mean, I was on Twitter while I was watching it for that 10 minutes. I didn't see one person who seemed excited with, the All-Star game, what's happening. The only thing that was great was, Green Day played. I'm a Green Day fan, so that was great. At least they played the classics, I mean, maybe the NHL should just go back to the classic All-Star game and just say, look, this is what it is. These are our best players. Or maybe you do it outdoors. Maybe that's the Winter Classic. I've seen that people bring that up before. Make the Winter Classic, the All-Star game, the Winter Classic outside. Something. But, what they're doing now is just ugh,
well, they've definitely they've shrunk the whole thing. I mean, they've just brought it down to really it's primarily for the host city right now. You know, they make it a sellout, and you know, they have a little bit of a party and everything else. But it's definitely there's no doubt about it. It's broken away from trying to expand the larger audience, and you know, just watching the crew from the NHL Network and just trying to overanalyze this stuff and like over gaga over these guys and everything, and just trying to, you know, just make anything out of nothing as far as, you know, the game itself, and you know, following along with it. And then the jerseys are always a big thing. You know, it's primarily just it's another money thing. It's almost like they just kind of have to do it. I mean, ultimately for me, you know, they're going to keep it in the league. It's just part of it. Part of all the leagues pretty much have it. I mean, you know, it's just something that you're going to kind of have. But, man, I just wish they would just get back to putting more emphasis on getting the World Cup back. You know, do something like that and see what happens. But, you know, as far as the CBA is involved, these guys getting the bye weeks now and everything else, it's all part of the rest. I mean, doing anything outdoor and, you know, when guys like Ovechkin and stuff like that just don't want to be a part of it and everything else, you're really not getting, you know, the top stars in the game, you know, really behind the whole thing. So it is what it is, and I think we're probably spending way too much time in it right now as far as Ranger land is considered right now. So, buddy, look, I mean, look, before we start, just because, you know, we're all sports fan here, I just want to acknowledge the passing of Kobe Bryant and everybody else who unfortunately passed away on that tragic accident this Sunday. I mean, it kind of puts things in perspective. I mean, hockey itself has had some really big tragedies over the last couple of years, as far as, you know, some devastating plane crashes, and obviously the young kids up in Canada there with the bus accident and everything else. But just take a moment to recognize Kobe and you know, everybody on that trip as well. But you know, when you have a person of that stature and a guy that, you know, we're all SBN, you know, watchers, and, you know, whether you're not a big basketball fan or you're not a fan of one particular sport or the other, we're all watching, you know, we grew up with this guy as far as a guy as a name and everything else in terms of playing, and just devastating. And, you know, myself and you, and I'm sure so many listeners here who follow us too, we're dads. You know, we have kids, and it's heartbreaking. So I just wanted to do that, KD, and at least, you know, not to dampen things a little bit, but at least show some respect to that incident that just happened this Sunday, and maybe just get your take on it real quick as well.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, just an awful, tragic incident there. And yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, just looking at it, like you said, from a father's point of view, you know, being in that position of just helplessness, you know, that I'm sure he was going through, you know, that he couldn't, you know, be in a position to help his daughter. I mean, that is just an unimaginable position to be put in. And yeah, I mean, just seeing the news, I was just so struck by it. And, you know, he was such an amazing player. And I despite like all the accolades and everything that he did get, you know, in the NBA, I think he may have even been underrated at times, because he sort of came in, you know, while Michael Jordan was still, you know, Michael Jordan, and he was always trying to live up to Michael. But, you know, I think he was just an amazing player, and probably a bit underrated, despite all the accolades, like I said. So just a tragic loss, you know, for the NBA, for sports, for, you know, just everyone. It's terrible.
Absolutely. So carpe diem, everybody, and just you know, cherish every moment and live life to the fullest. So KD, let's where do we start with the New York Rangers right now? If you don't mind, just seeing earlier that Shestjorkin is coming back up. I hope you have an answer for me, because I don't get it. What's going on, man?
You really are pointing to me and looking for an answer to this?
I'm tired of it already.
You're out of your mind. You know, and to make matters worse, on top of, you know, him being recalled, you know, is the report from, you know, Elliot Friedman, who's saying that the Rangers now may not address the goalie situation until the summer. So, you know, we're all sitting here like, well, they're going to trade Georgiev, or, at the trade deadline, and this, three-headed goalie monster thing is only going to go on for a couple of weeks. So, what's the big deal? Or that's what everyone's telling me when I freak out about it on Twitter. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. Well, now what? Like, if the Rangers aren't going to be trading Georgiev, what are we doing now? 3 goalie rotation to the end of the year? Like, and if that's the case, like, why are you what could be the justification of ever playing Lundqvist? Like, for what? They're not making the playoffs. And now you're taking away from the development of the other 2 goalies. So how could you ever justify putting Lundqvist in there other than, well, the fans still love him? It just is such a ridiculous situation that's just unsustainable and just makes such little sense if they were to go that route. Now, who knows? I mean, that's a rumor, and rumors get crazy at this point, but I really just don't get it at this point. If they end up moving Georgiev, great, but then just keep Shesterkin down in the AHL. Let him play every day. Let him continue to get the experience. And I get it. He's probably beyond the AHL at this point, but so he comes up here and he plays and then sits in the press box, and we've gone over this like 100 times already, but it's still just frustrating that they haven't sort of moved on, from this. And I get it. They don't want to just give Georgiev away. And I guess there's some, trade rumors out there that may or may not come to fruition, but, I'm just, me, I'm just so frustrated with it at this point. I just don't have any explanations for it.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, there's no perception that anybody's hurt, right? So we don't see any injury. Nobody's hinting towards that. I think that's the puzzling thing to me is why. Because we sit here and we talk about this, most of the stuff that's going on during the season, right? We're trying to figure out, the system and just Quinn working through the parts there and the ups and downs that the team has gone as far as, the different parts, the different elements of it. And it was funny at the beginning of the year, it was like the goaltending situation to us really wasn't an issue because we were just going to ride Hank and Georgiev and we were going to just see this show. And this kid Shesterkin, as great as he was and down in the AHL, but, we were talking early in the season that, eventually they're going to have to bring him up for a game or 2, but didn't think this was going to be, and then there was my theory that they brought him up at the time to shake the team up and to turn them around a little bit. And, went back and forth, and then, they win a couple of games, and then they lose to Columbus there, and then the Islanders again, and they send them back down, and it feels like, all right, it's a natural thing. They brought him up, they shook him up, did their thing, Georgiev is back. Whether they're going to trade him, what's going on and everything. And now we got the All-Star break, and all right, Detroit's coming up, and then we got like 4 or 5 straight home games, and we'll just see what happens and everything else and whether they're going to trade. For them to bring Shesterkin back up, I said his name wrong again. I thought I had it down again. Shesterkin back up. Shesty, baby. It, to me, because let's maybe kind of turn it around some way, because this is a difficult thing, too. These players don't get a chance, right, to speak their minds, right, publicly. They really don't get to do that, right? So, if you take Hank for one personality there, what's he thinking, right? Or, having meetings with Hank and saying, hey, this is why we're doing it, this is what's happening. We have no idea if there's any inclination at all that he might be willing to take off, right? We don't know. Then there's Georgiev, right? He gets the bench in there, and then he comes back and he plays a couple good games, and then he gets another rest against, Shesty goes in for CBJ. He comes back, they have a bad game, and then boom, we got the break. There's nothing to play for again, and then we have to wait now to this weekend. So where does he stand? And then, what's the mental capacity for him as far as his morale with the thought of the fact that, everybody's talking every day, Georgiev is going to get traded. He's going to get traded. So what is that? What is he going through as a player? And now, as far as Shesty's concerned, he's like, what do you mean? You want me up? You want me down? You want me up? You want me down? What am I doing? What am I playing? Where am I going? How does that affect him as far as getting into a groove as a player, too? Because too, buddy, no matter what level you play at as a former goaltender in any league or whatever, you got to get into a rhythm. At the end of the day, is the team just like, they don't give a crap about it because, they're not going to make the playoffs, and it doesn't matter what happens here in the next 7 games or whatever because this is just the way it is. I'm going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and wait for the best offer. If something comes in, great. If not, hey, just deal with it, but this is what we have. But I have to think that those 3 individuals on the